Guys, today I'm gonna be giving my opinion on this atgames Sega Genesis. I got this 2 years ago now, and I'm really hating how people are saying that it's a Sega Genesis versus Nintendo one again because not the new NES, the NES Classic or whatever they call it. It's good, but this kind of came out before, so I think you people should get the facts straight. Mostly, I remember 2 years 2 years ago, I wanted one really badly because I was trying to get into retro gaming, and I didn't have anything to do with it. Only thing is, since I've had it so long, the one of these doors came off. Not their fault, mostly because I was stupid and I tried to open it. But it's not their fault. That's my fault. I'm not gonna blame them for anything. And I think it's pretty good. I got it for $40, I want to say, or $30. I don't think it was good for the price. I realize that now because I could have got a real Sega Genesis, but it does the job. Only thing is, these controllers are terrible. They weren't good enough as long as you don't get in the way. But if you're just trying to do a quick play and you can pull up right in front of the TV, it's okay. But if you don't want to be exactly in front of the TV, and maybe if you're cold or something and you want cameras to be over your hand, you can't do it. But it's not like you don't have any other option. You can hook up a real Sega Genesis controller, and it works. It works for the most part. And I even hooked up a this little arcade stick to mine for a little bit, and it plays fairly well with it. It does have some issues. For instance, like first time I got it, was it wasn't wanting to read some games. I got a Star Wars game. I cleaned it and everything really good, and it did not want to clean it. It did not want to read it, and I tried everything to get it to read, and it wouldn't. But it does have a fair selection of games already built in, so it wasn't that big of an issue. I thought it was worth what I paid for it, at least for the time. But I wish I would have tried a different game, because later, when I started collecting for the Retron 5 to get some, I bought, I think no, Frogger was the first game I bought. I brought it home, and I got curious. I was just kind of curious if it would play. Like, it's not like it's a big deal if it doesn't. And I plugged it in, and sure enough, it played. Only thing is, like, it does have a good bit of grip on it, but nothing that big. And it works good enough. I always have it hooked up to this little TV behind me. I always have it hooked up there. That's why the screen is blue, because I just unplugged it. But I always have it hooked in, at least turned on, just because I like that. When I hook up the arcade stick, it does kind of remind me of a little crappy arcade. But like, if I had people around, like my mom and me, we played this for a little bit because she likes some of the older games, and she liked it. She just, of course, didn't like this controller, but she liked it nonetheless. That the controller is the only big issue to me. I will admit that some games do sound crappier on here than they would on the Retron or anything else. I'm not sure about the original hardware, but I do know that it does sound a little bit crappier on here. But it plays them, so that's good enough. But I do know that a real Sega Genesis, you can get one up at Game Exchange for, I want to say $60. And seeing that this was $40, it's only a $20 difference. So unless you really want to play some of these built-in games on here, like, I will say that if you want to buy some of these games, I'm not saying this is the real price for one, but for instance, Flicky, I seen that down at a game store for $12. So it's kind of expensive to get the real one. So I'm not saying that just because the store was overpricing them, but I will say that it's a good way to play Flicky. Like, I've opened my mind to a lot of games since I bought this, because I will say I'm not the biggest Sega Genesis fan. I've mostly been a Nintendo. I knew Sonic, I knew the main guys, but when I was playing it, I introduced myself to Golden Axe, which I really loved, and I will say I liked the third one a lot better, and it introduced me to a good bit more, and even made me want to buy this before I had the Retron, because I wanted to play it with a good controller, and I've even bought the PSP version. Sorry, I had to think of what all I had I bought the PSP version of the Sonic collection, and like if I would have known that it played a lot more games, like all my games I have now, after cleaning them were good, they do all want to work, and most of my controllers want to work. I will say that this one has never wanted to work, even before I broke it. It hasn't wanted to work on there, so it's not all controllers. But if this does go down, cause I have seen it for $20 on them at dollar store when they couldn't sell them, And I will say it's a good way to play some of these games, and it will play most of, well, it plays all of my collection. But again, I can count my collection on my fingers, so it's not that saying that much. This is how many I have in my collection. So if you want to get it, get it. Like if you see it cheap enough, I would say it's a grab. But if you see it for $40, I would say there's better options for that price range, because I have seen clone consoles for that much, and I've seen some real say Genesis for like just a little bit more than that. So my thing is, if you give this to a kid, they will not break it soon, and I think it's good enough for just a little cheap gift and to get your collection going. Well, thank you guys for listening. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and please watch my other videos. I have a lot more. I talk about games. I talk about um, I've actually played a little bit of VR games. I don't like doing gameplay videos that much, but if you'd like to see it, please tell me. Now, see you later.